I imagine that this is going to be one of my more anticipated videos for this particular patch because Johnny has been at the forefront of a lot of the discussion in Guilty Gear Strive's community for the past couple of patches. He's the Evo champion character now, thanks to Keishu Watamu, as well as that, he's been up there within maybe a lot of people's top 5 lists for strongest character in the game over the past couple of patch cycles for various reasons. He's got pretty much no weaknesses in terms of his range. His up-close game is pretty good outside of maybe his jabs on defense, given that they are a little bit slower and he doesn't have a 4-frame jab. But his mix-ups at close range, when he deals it out with deal, no pun intended, has been incredibly potent, and his reward for such mix-ups has also been really good. Not to mention the fact that if you block the mix-up correctly, he still pretty much got pressure afterwards. And in the old patch cycle, where Guard Crush wasn't being able to be YRC'd, then you had a recipe for a very strong character who basically got to loop his offense, and when you could extend that with resources, it got kind of crazy. One of the big changes that they did to Johnny to bring him to this top tier status was that to his dash, where they reduced the total duration of it from about 18 frames to 15 frames, making this an unreactable movement option. He could squeeze 2 of these off, and by the time that you realize he dashed in the first place, he could close the gap against you from full screen. And this basically permeated into a lot of his kit and was a huge reason for why he was a very strong character. But Arc System Works has gone after this dash, not by reverting it, but by nerfing it in another way. Now, in the current patch, instead of them increasing the total duration of his dash to be 18 frames and therefore reactable again, they've kept the duration the same, but they've decreased the movement distance that it's able to traverse, as well as the movement speed. So it is still the same duration, but it's slower and does not travel as far. After 2 dashes from full screen, you're not in range of either of his far slash or his 2 slash anymore, whereas before, you'd be in range for both of them. So instead of Johnny basically being able to get into range and start poking at you with his fast, uncommittal normals, he is now at the range where he has to commit to things like his 6 heavy or his far heavy slash in order to poke at you. And this is a change that also permeates to so much of his kit that we have to break this down almost step by step. For starters, this is going to affect his Oki off of various knockdowns that he used to get, like Mistfinder, for example. Previously, he could get pretty close to you and be about +3, +5, depending on the timing of his dashes, just outside of his slash ranges, but with the frame advantage, if you try to poke out against him, more than often, he'd be able to whiff punish you at this range. Compare that to now. And again, he still has that same frame advantage, maybe ranging a little bit based on when he's able to dash out of this one. He's still far outside of his slash ranges, but now things are a little more set to neutral. In fact, you're not even in range of his heavy slash anymore. This is pretty considerable, and the Okizeme examples get worse from here. Take a sequence like his back throw. Previously, he'd be able to throw out a kick deal, so then he could push you into it and then use the Guard Crush from Mistfinder to continue his offense, while getting close enough to you where he was +3 in your face and close slash range as well as throw range. The mental stack here was incredibly high. Of course, he could throw you, the deal would still be on the ground for him to then use in the subsequent high-low mix-up, or he could strike at you, calling out your throw tech and blowing you up for it, or just continuing the offense to then put you into the Guard Crush. And even then, after he was able to do that to you, once he dashed forward, you were again in throw range. So he basically got to loop the same strike throw mix-up twice after a single throw, and he could go for it whenever he pleased. Compare that to now. He's still able to get the same advantage as he used to be able to, and he's still in close slash range. But there is one important difference here. He's not in throw range. So all of a sudden, he has to commit to a walk forward in order to throw you. This little gap right here opens up the opportunity for you to mash against his throw pressure with a fuzzy mash that would be able to block a meaty close slash and contest him if he walks forward to try and throw you. Of course, if you did this before, your mash would still be able to beat a throw attempt. But that's talking about an immediate mash. If you try to delay the mash instead to catch the throw, you are at risk of being able to be thrown out of your mash's startup. Now, because he has to walk forward, you have a wider window in order to delay your mash to block the close slash while also being able to catch the walk-up to throw you attempt, improving options for the defender. And of course, if you tried to call out the immediate throw he could do with a backdash, well, then close slash would catch you. Of course, now this means that you have some options against Johnny going for an immediate, meaty close slash. If you block for a few frames and then input a backdash, you'll be able to block the close slash while also being able to dodge the attempt of throw because Johnny has to walk up for a few frames before he can throw you now. This basically adds some counterplay elements to Johnny's stuff, where instead of you just holding a mix, there's actually some interaction between offense and defense happening here. And again, this isn't like going to be a get-out-of-jail-free card, because if Johnny just delays his close slash, and he delays it perfectly, he can catch your backdash still. But there's a lot more of interaction happening here rather than you're in Johnny's blender, is it strike or is it throw? Instead, there's some counterplay going on here where Johnny has to make a read on what you're going to do on wake up as opposed to just him deciding what he's going to do to you on your wake up. And that's just the first layer of offense. If we look at the situation after Johnny goes for just a block string pressure into detonating the deal with Misfinder to then dash up and run offense again, the situation is equally weaker. Again, you're just outside of Johnny's throw range, meaning that everything we talked about in the previous example also applies here. There's a lot more opportunities for interaction between Johnny and his opponent. Granted, this is all still Johnny favored. He's the one with the knockdown and the offense and everything like that running for him here, but the defender doesn't just have to make a hard read and be right. They could possibly implement tech that's going to help cover them with a bunch of options that Johnny then has to think about and try to cover himself, opening up other gaps. Because if Johnny starts delaying his close slash to call out a delayed backdash, your immediate wake-up mash might start to work against him now, or just running up and throwing him. I think this is a really creative way of nerfing Johnny's dash. Of course, it's still unreactable and he's able to blip into ranges from far away, but at full screen ranges, it's a lot weaker because now he's not able to just teleport and be in his far slash ranges, and you have to contest with that, while it also impacts the Okizeme and the pressure that he gets off of various knockdowns. All of that while still pretty much conserving all of his combo routing, from what I can tell. We'll go ahead and just demonstrate the same sequence I did in the old patch and the current patch. All of that pretty much still works, and this is just like one very easy rudimentary example. There might be some situations where, because of the reduced dash range, he's not able to pick up hits from where he used to be able to before, but we'll see how that develops here, or if a Johnny main wants to correct me in the comments below, please let me know. Johnny's backdash also received a nerf to its recovery, where previously it was 18 frames of recovery. A pretty blessed backdash that traveled at decent speed. Johnny pretty much had some really good movement where he'd be able to go for dashes and be able to escape various situations and reposition himself pretty much risk-free. His backdash recovery has been increased by 4 frames, now being at 22 frames of recovery. The distance has been slightly increased because of this. But the extra 4 frames mean that there are going to be some situations that Johnny is not going to be able to escape that he used to be able to before. Take a situation like round start blue Roman cancel forward dash from the opponent to try and catch you. If you're pretty tight with it, you could probably escape this more often than not. Compare that to my testing in the current patch. Even in situations where I'm able to buffer my dash and escape the blue Roman cancel's reach, I get caught in my recovery frames from the follow-up right here. This pretty much nerfs this as a retreating option for Johnny in a lot of situations where he could reliably try to escape before. This might not be the best example or perfectly executed, but I'm trying to communicate the spirit of how this nerf impacts Johnny's defense here. Finally, we can talk about some of his normals. Far standing slash had its knockback reduced, meaning that the opponent is closer to Johnny on block and on hit. I got a couple of examples here of the old patch, comparing the situations on block and on hit. Previously, 2K whiffed in the old patch, but now it will reach afterwards just to demonstrate how closer the opponent is to Johnny. This is namely here to compensate for the nerf that they did to his standing heavy slash, where they increased the knockback. Previously, there was a little bit of knockback to this move at your max ranges. You could pretty much reliably combo into anything, like your Mistfinder, for example, your Red Wild Assault as well to extend combos. This had massive range, and the reward for it was pretty good as well. So they decided to target this just to tone down some of the rewards that he would get in neutral, and I have a demonstration as well for how things reached on block and on hit, as well as what would happen before if the opponent instant faultless defense to block this. Johnny would be pushed back just a little bit, and now the knockback increase on this has been dramatically amped up. The opponent is pushed quite a ways away. Within range, you're still able to combo into it, but at your tip ranges is where you're going to feel this nerf, where Red Wild Assault is going to completely whiff. Basically, if you can reach with Far Slash, your Heavy Slash should more often than not combo into your Red Wild Assaults or your Mistfinders, but a single hit standing Heavy Slash at max range is going to drop in a lot of these situations, and of course it's also going to reduce your pressure, causing you to whiff Mistfinders that used to be blocked before. And of course there is a very funny interaction with instant faultless defense where you get a ticket to full screen. There's also going to be combo ramifications for this change as well. Previously, Johnny could fit in 5 Heavy Slash in a sequence like this off of Close Slash, Far Slash to get some pretty good damage in the sequence using Red Wild Assault. But now if he tries that same sequence, the pushback on 5 Heavy Slash pushes them outside of Close Slash range after the Red Wild Assault. So now he has to cut that normal out in order to get a similar combo structure that does less damage overall. This is one example. You're going to be finding more of these if you explore Johnny. Vault has a change where the mid-air deal follow-up has been delayed in when you can throw it. You used to be able to throw it pretty early before, being able to go into Vault, throw the card, and then PRC it. As an example like this, for example, again, going pretty early, well before you reach the opponent. But now, Johnny pretty much does this at this very late timing. I'm pressing it at the same time. He doesn't throw it up high anymore. Instead, he throws it closer to the opponent, making it easier to time it manually just to be safe on block. But I imagine this is going to be a little bit of a nerf to his neutral, throwing the card out. And of course, his overdrive can no longer be PRC'd without full tension gauge. And he, I think, is very much affected by the system mechanic changes. Not being able to cancel Red Wild Assault on block is a huge nerf to his pressure. And, of course, the YRC change. If the opponent is able to successfully block his mix-ups, they're able to just end the situation right then and there. Out of all of the top-tier characters we've talked about in the previous patch so far, I think Johnny is the most nerfed out of all of them so far. He doesn't really like the system mechanic changes. YRC is what it is. I mean, obviously, ending his pressure whenever he wants to is going to be something that he does feel from time to time, but in situations where he's mixing you between an overhead Mistfinder and a low, he at least gets that opportunity to mix you first before you can YRC the Guard Crush and then end the looping pressure if you have that meter. But the Red Wild Assault change is a big one to him. Johnny's love to use Red Wild Assault to convert their pokes into either a combo on hit or into block pressure on block, but now they can't rely on that option just to get in and start their offense anymore. Additionally to that, the individual nerfs targeted at Johnny's dashes, targeted at his 5 Heavy Slash, do so much to hurt this character in neutral. Now when he's at those big tipper ranges where he's only poking at you with 5 Heavy Slash, situations that used to give him a knockdown, that used to give him offense, now just end with him hitting you with a 5 Heavy Slash. That is a big nerf to Johnny's neutral. Not to mention how all of his Okizemian pressure has changed due to the forward dash. Changes mean that his offense has a lot more interaction points than it did before. So instead of him looping just hard guess situations, now the opponent has some tech that they can possibly use to call him out on layer 1, forcing him to delay his options into a layer 2, thus opening up more options for the opponent to try and counter Johnny's offense. Previously, I don't think the character is like flat out gutted. Like he still functions when he gets into that close range, but it's a little harder for him now to get into that range due to the forward dash changes, and these are pretty severe nerfs. Pretty safe to say that like he's dropping down a tier or maybe even 2 tiers. He's certainly not a top 5, maybe not even top 10 character anymore in this patch. You have to shorten out your combos, dropping heavy normals where you would like to add them in before, at least if you're using combos that use standing heavy slash. His movement is worse overall. It's less safe to commit to a backdash now. His pressure is worse. Like, this is a character that's going to be feeling a lot of these nerfs going forward, I think. And I mean, people who played Johnny just because he was all dead, brain dead, easy to run offense with will probably be dropping the character. But I think the tried and true Johnnies will stake it out to see what the character can do. He's still functional, and I think that a lot of these nerfs are warranted. I like the forward dash nerf. Not sure about the back dash nerf, but okay, we're going to have to rock with it for now. I think the standing heavy slash nerf with the knockback increase is a little bit of overkill potentially. I would not be surprised to see Arc System Works reduce that in the future. But I mean, it is what it is for like right now, and if this is what they want to target with the character and see what matters a whole lot, I don't blame them for wanting to reduce his rewards at full screen because he didn't really have weak points before. He was good at far ranges, he was good up close, he was good at mid range, so making his far away game worse and making it harder to get into his close range game, I think is a warranted approach. We'll see how it goes through. I hope people still play the character. I think he's cool, and I do agree that he was incredibly strong before and that he was frustratingly strong with the way he jailed you into mix-ups, that he just got to be in full control. That was unhealthy, and that was not interactive, and I think the way that they nerfed him was a really smart way of doing it, preserving a lot of what makes the character cool and fun, but making it so the opponent actually has a say in some of the choices that they can make against his offense. Of course, people, again, are probably going to drop the character, but I still think that he's going to be fun for people to play, and he's going to be a lot more fair to fight. We'll see where he ends up in the next patch.